Great to have you back from our GCT studio with news from Nigeria, Africa, and the international markets. Yes, indeed, the show is still on. The conversation on MarketPlus Xtra is up next. Stay with us. The evolution of productivity in Nigeria identifies the policies and institutions which can help accelerate Nigeria's economic expansion and create new job opportunities, building momentum for reforms which are essential to mitigate risk and promote faster, more inclusive and sustainable growth that improves living standard and reduces poverty. Today on MarketPlus Xtra, we shall be discussing the topic, Building the Nigerian Economy, Tips for Financial Independence. My guest is a gentleman, is a Nigerian, is Adeleke, David Adekunle, an entrepreneur. David, it's so nice to have you on MarketPlus today.
It's a pleasure.
Now, let's go straight into the show. Now, the country's growth outlook is vulnerable to domestic and global risk. It is facing a sharper than expected slowdown in the global economy, as well as geopolitical and trade tensions. Now, in your opinion, what is the state of the Nigerian economy today, and what indices has worked for or against the situation, in your opinion?
That's a big question.
It's a big one.
So it's really so much about macroeconomics, some of microeconomics. The report from the National Bureau of Statistics just early this month, detailing July, says that the consumer price index is set at over 19%. Now, technically, it means that the average Nigerian cannot sufficiently feed. So the economy is struggling. How be it, there's a report of about 5% increase in the GDP. So you begin to wonder, like, how do we marry these two?
How do you balance it? Like I often say on the show, it's a paradox.
It's a big paradox. So the average family that was able to live on 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira for a whole month cannot any longer, because right now the prices of everything across board is at least over 19% higher. You go in, for people who have babies, the complaints are all over the place. You see on various, WhatsApp statuses, oh, this is this. And I think COVID could be one big reason, but I do not think it's the only reason.
Could you like
globally
break it down? It is. I know you were you're going to continue talking, because we live in this country. And everyone, like there used to be a show on television that says the rich also cry.
Yeah.
And then when it was being aired, people scoffed at it and said it's impossible. But that is the reality now in Nigeria. Before you talk about a global stance, what are the reasons why we are where we are today in terms of food prices? Like you said, is beyond the COVID-19. What else?
I think it begins from the fact that we are a consumer nation.
All right.
We're not producing enough. We are producing, but we're not producing enough. So when you look at it, there is a serial imbalance between what goes out and what comes in. For God's sake, till date, Nigeria still imports toothpick. We import tomatoes. We import basically everything. Our population has been rising, and the systems in the country are not being built to cater for the population.
Flow with the rise in population
so
and
at the time,
yes,
at the time when the naira was, almost basically equal with the dollar, the population of Nigeria was nowhere near what it is right now. So we have been increasing in population, knowing our culture, knowing our values as a nation. We know that there are people who, will marry 3 wives, have 27 children, and all of these things are contributing to population increase, which also has an effect on economic development. Because for each child that is born every year, Nigeria is poised to be one of the top 3 most populous countries by 2050 rather. At about I think about over 300 and something million people. Now, if we can see that already, and we know that our population is on this sharp rise, how are we where we are? That our systems, in terms of food production, in terms of job creation, in terms of housing, all of these things are still issues.
David, Nigeria is not only blessed with the population, we are blessed with the resources. Now, when you narrow it down to the population, Nigerians are one of the most, if not the most, I can boldly say this on air, the most intelligent you can ever find anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So why can't we get that into action to create a Nigeria of our dreams?
The environment.
How does that affect
there isn't
anything?
An enabling environment. So take for instance, we have doctors going on strike. It shouldn't happen. If doctors are going on strike, it says that there's something wrong with the health sector. It's in pains. The health sector is diseased. And that's why the doctors are finding their way out at a very fast rate. I know a number of them, personally. And you find that even entrepreneurs are struggling to keep up with business. And on the other hand, rather than having the government focus on ways to strengthen and encourage enterprise development, it's more about looking for how to generate revenue, how to take so much more from the same people who are doing everything possible to get this economy stable and going. And you realize that when the average business opens up somewhere, then, I'm speaking from experience, you begin to find different government officials coming in from the local government, from the state government. They keep coming in, and then each one is coming to take their own share from the business. So a business is up, has not even spent 6 months. Building control is coming. You constructed this place. Where is this approval? But when that place was being constructed, they never went there to ask
until
they
saw the progress that is coming up.
But now it's up and running. Oh, it's looking very beautiful, very big.
And attractive.
They show up. Advertising agency shows up. Loma shows up. Everyone shows up. And then there's a barrage of bills. And for some of them, if you don't pay them off,
they close down the business.
They intrude into the business flows.
And of course, that won't lead to economic development, because not everyone has the strength to push on. And I think probably, or do you think this may be the reason why a lot of businesses pack up?
It's one of the reasons.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons. On the side, this issue of business failure is something I've spoken about from as far back as 2014. And there are so many more reasons. One of the capital reasons is the fact that most people who go into business have no idea what it is to run a business.
So they came at every...
Yes, they came on the wind drive of, be your own boss. Unfortunately, they make terrible bosses to themselves.
Even to themselves.
Yeah, they were never...
I've never heard that before.
They were never faithful stewards. Excellent employees.
All right.
But you see, the mindset of an entrepreneur is different from the mindset of an employee. Anyone who is leaving paid employment to start a business needs a total overhaul. They're not the same thing. That you are experienced, you have 25 years experience in the banking sector does not mean that you're going to succeed as a businessman. They are totally different ballgames. So you need a different brain for this one as you had for this one.
For this one.
The employee goes into an organization, everything is set. Everything is working. There's an office. How the office gets cleaned, how the rent gets paid, it's none of their business. Just come, I do my job, and I go home, and I get paid at the end of the month. But when you are an entrepreneur, the case is different. You are concerned about who cleaned, how they cleaned, how much they're going to get paid, how they're going to get paid. Your eyes are on the numbers, on the bottom line. And you still need to keep things going.
Interesting. I hope someone is listening. It's not enough to have the money. You must have the idea. You must go look for the idea. You must build up on the idea before you venture, so you do not truncate destiny. Now, domestically, the predictability of macroeconomic policies, the pace of structural reforms, and the country's security situation are one of the main risks that entrepreneurs or business people or Nigerians face on a daily basis. Now, without structural reforms, however, growth is projected to remain unstable, averaging 2.1%. Now, I want to ask my guest how government can turn around the fortunes of this country economically in the next 3 years. You must, as a Nigerian youth, as a Nigerian, we all carry this passion for our country. I think for most of us that are here, because there are a lot of people running away from the country, but we're still here trying to see how we can lend our own to ensuring that the country is sustained. How can government, turn the fortunes of this country economically in the next 3 years, in your own view? Because people have short-term, long-term plans for themselves and your country.
Yes.
If you were there on the corridors of power and you have the right in the next 3 years, what can we do to quickly turn around things for the economy and, of course, for the people?
First, we need a national vision. There isn't. Do you know where Nigeria is going? I don't know, except you're going to educate me. We don't have a national vision. There isn't a long-term picture, a big picture of where we're headed as a nation. When we have a vision, then we can break it down to say, okay, in 3 years, this is where we aim to be. And then we can now look for how to harness all of the resources in terms of leadership, in terms of skills, in terms of experience, and then natural resources, all of everything that we can muster. That's when we can go headlong. But when we have the system as it is right now, what we have today is no different from what we had in 1993, 1992, 1991. There's no way the country is going to progress because it's looking like a business for some at the expense of others.
It is looking like a business for some at the expense of others. Interesting.
So how do you expect the average Nigerian, to dream? Leadership in Nigeria is one of the biggest, in fact, I would say it's the biggest issue we have until the crop of leaders that we have changes. I don't see us getting anywhere.
Who has the power to change this?
You see,
how do we change this? How do we change?
It's tough because this is going to actually become a political discussion.
No.
But you see, the system.
Let's downplay it a little bit.
The economic systems of the country, though there's an effort to steer it in the right direction. So take a look at this. Nigeria has so many loans to pay. Some of these loans were taken when the exchange rate was 360, 180, 190. But right now,
150.
Right now, we're talking of about 500 and something. Now, a loan of $1 million when it was 160, right now costs about 3-point-something million.
Now, David, you're making me almost gasp with fear. We need to go on a short break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with us.
So the only way I think we can improve agriculture is by improving our technology. You understand? If we can improve the technology of agriculture, then by government should pool fund into agriculture. So the fund will help us to have the Anchors Border program that the government is doing, so that farmers can easily access soft loans with a minimum interest rate. So in that wise, then improve on education, agricultural education for the farmers. So because farmers should know the climate that is best for a crop productions, and we should encourage import-based agriculture, not subsistence agriculture, import-based agriculture. So in that way, we can able to develop agriculture and generate revenue in agricultural sector.
When you say import-based, what kind of goods are you talking? What kind of production are you talking about?
Some, there are some agricultural products that are good for consumptions. So, and if we are still producing in smaller quantity, so that we cannot be able to meet the demand of the consumption at home, we cannot be able to produce in a mass that we can export. So, in other ways, we will not be able to develop our agro-allied sector, which can generate a lot of funds, you understand, in that aspect. Sorry, I wanted to say export-based, and I said import-based. So we will not be able to generate, you understand, revenue in agricultural sector.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the concluding part of our discussion right here in the studio as we take a look at a very important topic. Now, Nigeria's population is expected to grow by as much as 35 million in the next decade, and unless the pace of growth and job creation accelerates, the country will account for a quarter of all people living in extreme poverty. I want my guest to give us some tips on financial independence for the Nigerian youth, even as he continues on the idea which he was flowing with before we went on a short break. You were telling us about the difference in the Naira exchange to the dollar and other currency, and the fact that we've borrowed so much, and those could actually lead to a lot of problems for the future, even as you eventually give us tips for financial independence for the Nigerian youth. How do we balance all of this, in ensuring that we arrive at the desire that we seek for?
Number one, earn in foreign currency.
Earn in foreign currency.
If you earn in Naira, you're at risk. If all the money you earn is in Naira, you are at risk. And more Nigerians need to begin to explore how to render services offshore. So think of skills that you have, things you can do that can be paid for from abroad. I mean, the CBN has tried to encourage that, by saying, oh, the Naira for dollar initiative, they're going to give 4 or 5 Naira for every dollar that you receive from abroad. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So if you are able to get someone to pay as much as $10,000, automatically you've made about 40,000 Naira, as a bonus for rendering that service. But more Nigerians need to think outside the box. There are services. COVID has created opportunities. So that's why I said, our issue in the country is not so much about COVID alone. Yes, COVID had its negative effects, but it also opened up a world of opportunities. Unfortunately, we're not taking advantage of that.
So what type of business can the Nigerian youth or the Nigerian do now that can create that opportunity of earning in foreign exchange rather than in Naira? Could you just give one or two ideas? I know we're not paying for it, but this is your service. Even if you do not go into details, but could you give an idea, please?
Okay. So for example, personally, I do PowerPoint presentations.
Okay.
Very professionally. And I have clients abroad who send their content. I create the PowerPoint here in my room or in my office.
And send it back.
Abroad, and then they pay me in dollars. So for the average person, there are some of those skills that you're not even paying attention to, that somebody out there
is waiting.
Is looking for someone to help them with, with these things. A lot of people have been going into forex trading, which I think is also another, very good angle. If you can, you need to have the technical expertise for that. Cryptocurrency trading is another one. A lot of people are doing massively well along those lines.
Just even sitting in their homes, from the confines of their homes. They don't need an office, no landlord, just your mobile device or a laptop.
And you're doing well.
Wow.
And, over the last 4 weeks, I've been, talking to a lot of people, showing them how they can do that, particularly in cryptos. I know the governments don't necessarily believe in this. They have their reasons. I understand. But that bias does not change the fact that people are making money legitimately.
Clean money.
Clean money with cryptos.
Okay.
So I think that more people need to reinvent themselves.
Okay.
The focus should be on cash flow and as much as possible in forex, foreign exchange. So that when you have cash flow in foreign exchange, regardless of what's happening to the Naira, you are cushioned. So if you earn $10 every day from outside there, coming back into Nigeria, that $10 is not the same as somebody who earned $300. I mean, 300,000. Because in this case now, $10 about that's $300,000. But when you're converting it, because of the effects on the Naira, you can do so much better.
Okay.
Because what you're getting in return is way more than if you earned in Naira. So I personally galvanize and talk to people, every time I have the opportunity to tell them, hey, look for how to earn in foreign currencies.
So what other ways can the Nigerian youth be independent in terms of earning? What other ways that can actually stimulate the Nigerian economy, but first change his life or her life, which can, on the long run, overflow into building the economy, apart from earning in foreign exchange?
So one of it is you, the value you place on yourself.
Okay.
A lot of people are undervalued because even they don't have a sense of self-worth. So you know, because of the way the economy is, many people are under pressure to do just about anything for peanuts. And that, I believe, is a very, influential point of view for so many Nigerian youths. You have skills. You're educated. I hear people with the first. Okay. Sometimes I've interviewed people who had a master's, graduated with the first class, but they cannot come out to mention that they want to earn a certain amount. And then you hear them saying, even if it's 30,000
or anything.
Anything. Why? Because they've been rejected in a number of places. And it sounds like I'm asking for too much. I don't deserve what I'm asking for. But we have to come to this place of value.
Okay.
You see, there are natural laws that work. If you're not comfortable with a certain level of prosperity, you're going to naturally repel it. So these people don't realize that they're doing themselves a disservice
by undervaluing
themselves. If you think comfortably in millions, the likelihood that you will have 1, 2, 3 people who will offer you millions comfortably without thinking, oh, he's going to run away with the money.
It's possible.
Or he's going to, he won't do well with this money. The chances are higher. But when you're only comfortable with, even if it's 30,000, 50,000, when someone sees you and the person is thinking of giving you something, 500,000, something tells the person like, no, just start the person small first. Give the person something of, test the person with 20,000. And then test it with 20,000, and then they double it to 50K. That's the best you ever get. But a lot of people don't realize that these things are working against them. Then they call it the secret, law of attraction. I have personally experienced it, and I know what I'm saying.
I think I agree with you because I have experienced that too, and I'm just surprised that you're talking about it. So I have experienced what he's saying, and I can confidently tell you that it is the truth. And on the show, we'll try as much as possible to steer you towards that greatness. What he's saying is true. Practice it, please. Yes.
So for business people, I talk about it as zero tolerance. And that is, how many zeros can you tolerate in your mind? So I just put it on a board, and then I write 1, and then I put 3 zeros. How do you feel? How much is that? 1,000. Okay. And then I add 1 more. How much? Oh, that's 10,000. Okay. I add 1 more. That's 100,000. Then they begin to adjust gradually. I add 1 more zero. 1 million. Okay. Are you okay? Yes, I think I'm fine. I add 1 more zero, 10 million. So think of this in your account. And then by the time it's getting to 10 million, a lot of people are already sweating. Why? They're not comfortable. They can't tolerate the zeros.
They can imagine the zeros.
Can't tolerate the zeros.
Okay.
So the number of zeros that you can't tolerate, a lot of people think they can, but they cannot. Just put it in the account first. And the account is within their control, and see how they're going to be fidgeting.
I wish we can actually go on and on. They just told us that they gave us a reminder that time is not our friend, and we have to begin to round up. Now, but before we go, how successfully the economy transforms land, labor, capital, and other inputs into goods and services is slow or low compared to peer countries, hindering economic growth, job creation, and living standards without robust productivity growth. The report warns that living standards will continue to deteriorate in Nigeria, and the number of people living in poverty will continue to rise, increasing by more than 30 million by 2030. The Nigerian youth has the power to change the statistics if only they can begin to think a way out. All you need is your mind and a vision to ensure that the future is bright. I want to thank my guests for honoring my invite, for being on the show. I wish we could talk on and on, but you need to come back again so we can trash out more of those issues. So I hope to see you again. Thank Thank
Gladly.
you, David. And to you, don't go anywhere. The rest of the show continues in a moment. When I return, I'll be coming to say my bye-byes. Stay with us.